Hello everybody, Dana Lyons here with the Cows with Guns report. We have the honor of talking today with David Barsamyan of Alternative Radio. I believe this is your first time in Bellingham, David? Is that right?
Indeed it is, Dana. It's wonderful to be on your program. I've spoken all over the world, you know, from Cairo to Beirut to Istanbul to Tehran to New Delhi, but the first time in Bellingham, Washington. It's great to be here.
Well, welcome to Bellingham. I first came upon your radio show in the 80s. I think I was driving home from a gig late at night, and I was twiddling the knobs on my Ford Gran Torino, and I came upon a station where someone was talking about something meaningful in an intelligent way, and I was like, no wait a minute. And I have been a fan of your show ever since. Tell us, a lot of our viewers here may not have heard of Alternative Radio, and I want to turn them on to it because I love your show. Recently I've heard Arundhati Roy and Paul Cienfuegos on your show, but just tell us a little bit about Alternative Radio.
I began it in 1986 on a whim, thinking that there might be a national and international audience for the kinds of voices and views and perspectives that I wanted to get out to a larger audience. And I began, and it took off, and celebrating 25 years right now. It's alternativeradio.org is where you can find a huge audio archive of Noam Chomsky, Howard Zinn, Edward Said, you mentioned Arundhati Roy, Vandana Shiva of India, Tariq Ali of Pakistan, and many other voices that deserve a wide listenership in the United States and elsewhere.
Now, David, you call it alternative radio, and just explain for our viewers an alternative to which other sorts of media. Just how are you different from other news programs?
Well, it's to contrast the garbage and gas bags that dominate the corporate airwaves. These overpaid, pundits and experts who compete for the best hair on the air, who know nothing about the rest of the world, who have certain embedded assumptions that they never even challenge about the economic system, capitalism, or imperialism. And I think it's incumbent on citizens, active citizens, not passive citizens, to take control of their lives and their society, and I think that's what the Occupy movement is an expression of.
Yes, and we're here today at Occupy Bellingham. You can see Bellingham's beautiful museum in the background. Tell us a little bit about your feelings about the Occupy movement.
It's one of the most exciting developments to happen in the United States in many, many decades. It's an expression of anger, but also of hope. Anger against the incredible income and wealth inequality in this country, where a handful of people basically control the political system and hence the economic system. And to correct that imbalance and inequality is what Occupy is all about. So hope, a tremendous amount of hope that actual social change can occur because of the pressure Occupy movements all over the United States. It began in New York on September 17th, Occupy Wall Street. It's mushroomed across the country. And it's not just in towns like Bellingham or Seattle, obviously you'd expect, but Elkhart, Indiana, Casper, Wyoming. I mean, small towns not known, let's say, for activist zeal. So it's a very, very promising movement, but the challenge is going to be to sustain it, particularly as cold weather comes on, to keep the heat on, not only keep the heat in the tents, but to keep the heat on people in power, because it's the only thing that they understand. They understand pressure from the streets. That's how we had civil rights legislation in the 1960s, and that's how, eventually the multiple wars in Indochina that the U.S. was fighting came to an end. It was because of pressure from citizens all over the country.
Right on. Thank you, David. And you're touring now with your new book, Noam Chomsky, How the World Works. Put that in there, you can all see it. Tell us who is Noam Chomsky. Tell us a little bit about the book.
Noam Chomsky is the foremost dissident intellectual in the United States. He practically invented the field of linguistics at MIT, where he's taught for more than 5 decades. He's an extraordinary figure. I mean, remarkable that we are in a time where we have someone of his creative power and genius, and he has always been a beacon for dissidents, for opposition, for principled stands on economic justice and anti-imperialism. So I've been very fortunate to have worked with him for many, many years. This particular book, How the World Works, is a compilation of 4 earlier books combined now into what is called a very affordable package, and I hope people pick it up, because it's important to understand how the world works, how the United States works, not the fantasies and myths that are propagated by the corporate controlled media, but the actual workings of the economic system, capitalism, and U.S. foreign policy, imperialism.
And I gather your book on Noam Chomsky is available in stores in the U.S. and Canada. How can people in the rest of the world get it? At the alternativeradio.org website?
Exactly. Just go to alternativeradio.org, where you can also find free podcasts, videos of some talks I've given, audio of talks, and just go there and support independent media.
Well, before I think you have a little song written for us. This is David Barsamyan's version of a Gil Scott-Heron tune. And before we do that, I want to thank you again. I feel like I've been going to the University of Alternative Radio for a couple decades now, and I encourage all my friends out there in YouTube land to check out alternativeradio.org for...
Let me bestow a graduate degree upon you, Dana.
Finally,
yes,
I've got...
You now have your doctorate in alternative radio.
I can't wait to tell my mother. That's fantastic.
She'll be proud, as she should be. Well, I'm going to put on my Z magazine cap for this little rap. Z also in Greek means Zai. It means life, and so it is associated with also an opposition movement in the 1960s, and Costa Gavras made a wonderful film called Z that I recommend to all of your comrades and viewers. So what I'm going to do is an updated version of Gil Scott-Heron's The Revolution Will Not Be Televised. Gil Scott-Heron, one of the foremost poets of the 20th century, 21st century. He died within the last year, a great loss, but he's left a tremendous legacy of poems, and really he's the progenitor of the hip-hop and rap movement, and Dr. Dre and others have acknowledged him as kind of the guru of this movement. So this particular piece is... This particular piece is updated, and it's usually sung with a backdrop of one of the classics of the bebop revolution. The revolution will not be televised. You'll not be able to stay home, brother. You'll not be able to plug in, turn on, and cop out. You'll not be able to lose yourself on TV and skip out for beer during commercials, because the revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be brought to you by Xerox, by Bank of America, Wells Fargo, JP Morgan Chase. The revolution will be without commercial interruption. The revolution will not show you pictures of Julia Roberts and George Clooney and Justin Bieber and Miranda Cosgrove. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be brought to you by PBS, NPR, ABC, MSNBC, and all the rest. And it will not star Matt Damon or Ben Affleck. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not give your mouth sex appeal. The revolution will not get rid of pimples. The revolution will not make you look 5 pounds thinner. The revolution will not be televised, brother. The revolution will not be televised. It will be live.
That was David Barsamyan beginning his hip-hop career. No more alternative radio stuff. Out of the booth, onto the streets. Hip-hop career here in Bellingham, Washington at Occupy Bellingham. Thank you, David.
You're very welcome.